align with that, right? Accountability. How do we improve our democracy? And certainly if we're here trying to either resist or try to at least stem the hemorrhaging that's coming from the attacks on our democracy at a federal level, that starts here at a local level. Real change percolates up, it does not trickle down. And so I really want to focus on how do we walk the walk? How do we do the best we can in our democracy here in Boulder in order to set an example for what we can do at the higher levels? And to me that starts with representative democracy. We must evolve to a district scenario here in Boulder where we have wards, more representation. I live in South Boulder. Just by virtue of me living there, I'm the only one representing 7,000 homes. But that shouldn't be just by chance. There should be other people that represent. Mirabai Nagel, she's by choice of getting in, is representing Gun Barrel. Otherwise, that is a pretty disenfranchised part of our community. And so I think districting really brings more people into the electoral process, it makes people more involved, and by virtue of that, just improves our democracy from the very get-go. And so I think we can really sort of take the values of our wanting a strong democracy and strengthen it in that regard. I also really am focused on affordable housing. This is something that is key for all of us. Again, I've lost a lot of friends to other cities because they cannot afford to live in this community. And so the struggles that young working families have is something that I really care about because that's what I am and my wife is. We are a young working family. And we are one of the few that are fortunate enough to have gotten in here early enough into Boulder that we've got roots. And so I want to make sure that we have great opportunities for them. And that really works with housing, but also deals with how we work with our school district. The changing demographics are really impacting Boulder Valley School District and where the kids are in our community. I've got 2 elementary schools near my house, and they're likely going to have to start mixing grade levels because there just aren't enough children to support those 2 elementary schools. So we have some issues there that we need to sort of work on and find those ways to improve them. But affordability is really at the core of it. And the 2 pieces of affordability that I'm really focused on is we've got to stop the hemorrhaging of the affordable units that we have. This is an issue that I know council has spent a lot of time on. We're losing about 1,000 a year out into the market. And the 2 principled ways to do that are deed restrictions and community land trusts. These are the ways to actually anchor true, real, permanent affordability, and I think we need to do more in order to do that because it's like bailing water out of a leaking ship. We've got a cup, we're bailing water, but the water keeps filling in the boat because we're losing these units to the market. And so I think we have an opportunity to stop the hemorrhaging and then allow our affordable housing program to do its job to get ahead of the curve a little bit. And really what I want to also touch on is we'll move into other questions. But as you can see on there, the other piece, and I won't spend too much time, is really this conflict of interest between inclusionary housing requirement and the affordable housing program itself. One is sort of at the exclusion of the other, and I think that just doesn't make any sense. We have inclusionary housing, which is good for our community, but yet the cash and move program to opt out of that funds our affordable housing program. So I think right in there we have a general almost conflict financially, and we need to disentangle those so they're not mutually exclusive. To me, again, how do we set our goals and find an evidence-based solution to reach them? And I think these are some of those pieces where we sort of stumbled on ourselves a little bit, and I think we need to fix that in order to reach our goals. Energy, we're going to talk a lot about the municipal utility in this election, 3 ballot initiatives on there. I'll tell you straight up, I do not support the municipal utility at this stage. I was a supporter, I have since moved away, and most of that is because so much has changed since we started this process. It has evolved dramatically. Look at where energy is now nationally, statewide, and locally. That was not the case 7 years ago. The economic argument for renewable energy has finally caught up with the moral one, and I think that's an interesting opportunity to have where you can now let maybe some market forces at play there. And so I think we have an opportunity to change our course in order to meet the new demands that we have in front of us and some of the opportunities there. And the last but not least is the transportation, and then I'll sort of get some questions. This to me is an opportunity that we have in Boulder, and especially given that Google's showing up here. We're about to see in the next 10 to 15 years an absolute revolution in electric and autonomous vehicles throughout our community. There's a Rethink X report out there. You can actually see that if you go to my website at Matt Benjamin Future First. And what this really says is that between that and the sweep report, which was done by some folks here in Boulder, about 10,000 electric vehicles will be here within about 6 or 7 years. We already have 1,800 in Boulder. We're going to have 10,000 in about 6 or 7, 8 years. This is going to change the way we think of moving around our community. And it won't be you owning a vehicle. It'll be you buying a fractional ownership or a rideshare program where cars will be dropping you off. So you all of a sudden have to rethink how we move through this town. And as we look into implementing our transportation master plan, we've got to rethink that. The word electric vehicle was used once in that plan developed in 2014, and the word autonomous vehicle was not mentioned at all. Look at how far we've come in just the last 3 years, where we know this is on our doorstep. We have an opportunity to take advantage and lead this, especially given what we have coming in front of us. So I know we've got just a little bit of a minute or so left, but I wanted to pause. I spent a little time on some of these issues, but I think they're important. Is there any questions that you guys might have of me on issues either covered or nuanced issues that you care about? Yeah.
How would you propose, because it's been a real issue with having community involvement in the conversations, how would you address bringing more of that community voice to council decision making?
That's a great question. Really, community input is at the core of really any elected official, and it's really at the premise of democracy. The thing I would really start with is less is more. Right now, we are taking on too much as a local government, and that is not allowing the time for us to have the proper discourse that we need. And so I want us to focus on quality over quantity. And I think if we start by focusing on less, we have the time to bring the public in without feeling rushed or like we're forcing the issue, or in some cases we don't have time for that nice, good public discourse. And so it starts with trimming down our agenda a bit, and that's the way in which we then can at least allow a process to have some efficacy in reaching some of our goals and bringing the community involved. And so I'm getting the red card. So, but thank you for that question. That was a great one. Thank you.